Afternoon.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Okay. It's good to see everyone. I hope that we're doing very well. We are going to have kind of a connecting activity coming up in our slides. So I do want to hear how you're doing, but we'll do it through this first activity. So what I'd like you to do, you can go ahead and turn your...
So, I'm driving, so I'm not going to be able to do the activity while I'm driving. I am leaving one meeting, getting ready to go to the next. So, but I'm in attendance. I just can't, text and drive. Okay.
I'm cool with that. I really, really am. So thank you. And you're wearing a mask, so that's awesome too.
And you're upside down.
All right. So what I'd like you guys to do, if you could, go ahead and turn your cameras off. That will help everyone's computers or phones go a little bit faster. I'm going to mute everyone for the next little bit, and then we'll definitely have time that you can chime in again in just a moment. So if we go to our slides, and you should be able to find them in our Google Classroom. I posted them a couple hours ago. You'll see our week 3 slides, and today we're going to be covering Classroom and Meet, and we're also going to dive into groups for just a minute. And if we don't get to groups, I already have a video kind of walking through how to use that tool. So if it gets bumped because we're really taking the proper amount of time looking at these other tools, then that's perfectly fine. So on slide 2 in your slides, and you might want to switch over to your slides and not mine, you'll find this link that says, what are our wins? Click to add to our Jamboard. So go ahead and click over to that Jamboard. And in here, and I'll post the link into our chat as well so that we can find everything we need. So let me do our slides link in here first. So Jamboard is a newer tool for G Suite. It's been around for a couple of years now, but still on the newer end of things. And this is where we're going to kind of collaboratively come up with our responses and be able to check in. So what I'd like you to do, you'll notice on the left-hand side that we have these little Post-it notes that you can do. Or if you double-click on your screen, no, you'll want to use the icon on the left that looks like a Post-it note, and that's where we can start to add in our responses. Our question here is, what are our wins? And please add your response to the wall, and we'll all take a look at that together and then come back in just a moment. Does that work for everyone?
Hey, Adam, mine is saying that Google Docs encountered an error when I clicked on that. It just says, please try reloading and come back in a few minutes.
Okay. So did you click from the slides or from the chat?
I clicked from my slides.
Okay, I'm going to put the link, I put the link in the slide or in the chat as well for Zoom. So try that one out.
Okay.
I did the one from the chat, and it gave me the same thing.
Yes, that one, it has the same message from the chat.
Okay. Are you two, what school districts are you in?
I'm in Covington City.
And I'm in Falls Church, and I'm on my own email.
Okay. Huh. Let me check my settings real quick and see if there's anything. So if you'd like to respond to the question just in the chat, I think that would be fine. So what are some wins that you've had in the last 2 weeks? So just what are some positive things? And since it's not working in the Jamboard for you, if you could just do it in the chat, I think that'd be great.
I actually went ahead, the third time I clicked on it, it came up. So I don't know if you did something different, but it's working. So that's good.
Oh, good. Okay. Moved into a new house. That's awesome. So we'll take another couple moments for everyone to reply, and then we'll take some time to be able to just talk through our responses too. Whoa, op-ed in the Washington Post. That's awesome.
Hey, I can't find the icon for the Post-it note, like where I'm supposed to click for that.
Okay, so on the left-hand side of the Jamboard, do you see how there are like 6 different buttons there?
Oh,
It's a
I
fourth
must
from
have
the top.
something.
So it looks like a piece of paper at the bottom right corner folded.
Hold on.
And if you look at my
Oh,
screen.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So another minute or so, and then we'll come back together.
So is Jamboard kind of their answer to, is it Lino? Am I thinking of the right thing?
I haven't used Lino. I use Padlet, which is kind of similar.
Okay.
And I'll be honest that Padlet's my go-to, but I definitely wanted to be able to showcase some of Jamboard as well.
Yeah, it looks like Padlet.
That's what I'm thinking of. Maybe I'm making up names. There's so many things.
I'm going to take the name Lino, though. It sounds very similar to Lion-O from Thundercats back in the day. Okay.
Why are we all anonymous?
You're all anonymous because I have not shared specifically with you, and that's when we see the anonymous animals pop up in there. So if I had gone in and added each of your emails in there individually, that's how it would display. But because you had that anyone with a blank link, you come in as the anonymous. Good question.
It is Lino, by the way. I'm very proud of myself for pulling
Oh,
that
good.
one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So at this point, let's take a moment to just read over all the positive and great things that people have going on in their lives right now. And then if maybe 2 or 3 people would like to share, I'd love to hear it. I think that'd be great.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If you assign a Jamboard in Google Classroom, will it still show up as anonymous Panda or whatever?
Well, I don't know so if you make a copy for each student, then, they would have the rights for their own copy. But if we go back to the slides that I'm using today, you all showed up as
Anonymous.
I think anonymous in there.
Okay.
I think. No, your names are coming up in the slide. So it looks like that if you post it through Classroom that it does come up with your names in there. Cool. Okay. And it actually makes sense because of Google Groups. So that's a great lead-in, Yvonne, for a tool that we'll be talking about later and how all that functions in the background. All right. So now that we've had a chance to read over some of our peers' responses, who would like to either highlight, ask a question, whatever it might be about someone else's post, or you're just like, I'm eager, I need to tell people about the cool things going on in my life.
I agree. It's cool that somebody got published in the Washington Post. What day was it? Your op-ed, whoever that was.
It was actually right before our last class. I just didn't want to say anything.
Oh, that is so cool.
So it was late July, and it was in the Sunday Post opinion section.
Cool. I'll have to look it up online. See if I
But
can
yeah,
find it.
I've never done anything like that before, but my sister kind of nudged me. And it was basically, it was about schools reopening, but it was at that point, nobody was talking about what it was going to look like when schools reopened. Everybody's just saying it's so important for socialization. But it's like, it's like, you understand what it's going to look like, right? Like the kids are going to be sitting 6 feet apart and they're not going to be able to play with anybody. And like, so just basically it was curb your enthusiasm, right? That was kind of the message. It wasn't saying don't open and it wasn't saying we need to go back. It was just saying you need to be going into this with your eyes wider than they currently are, instead of just having these like grand ideals about what school has been for kids. That doesn't mean that's what school is going to be for kids.
Awesome. You go, girl.
Thank you.
And
It was
Missy
really
put in the
well
chat that she read it.
Thank you, Lisa, and to anybody who wrote it.
Awesome. There's some other pretty amazing posts on here. So any other questions out there or things you want to celebrate that you read other people write in here?
I'd like to hear about the puppy.
So who's getting a puppy Saturday?
That's me. We are picking up Bodie from North Carolina near the Outer Banks, and he's an English cream golden retriever. And I've always wanted a golden retriever, so I am just over the moon. Very excited.
Congratulations.
I'm so
That's
excited for you.
It's a pandemic puppy, okay? I'm doing it, but
awesome. We got ours the first week, so I'm right there
I
with
started
you.
looking the first week, and now I finally have the one that I want. When you
Oh.
want these exclusive dogs, you have to wait.
Oh,
Right.
So
And
I already
Goldens
have a
are
rescue, and I will rescue again.
awesome.
Goldens, they're awesome.
I'm so
Goldens are the best.
Go ahead, Lisa. Lay it on her. Give her.
I know.
Just make friends with her now. Show her all your golden retriever stuff, so you guys can just.
Oh, good. Yeah, and you know what? My colleague in the City of Falls Church, and a lot of you guys know her, Hillary Trebles, is getting the same exact type of dog on the same exact day, same age.
Get
Oh,
out.
Carrie, you don't understand though. Lisa
Oh my
is
God.
seriously.
Okay, I'll have to reach
To
out. Lisa.
find your house, she will.
I'll invite you over.
Awesome. All right, so let's
Mine's-
come back together. I'd love to hear maybe one more person share out or ask a question from what you saw on here.
I'm curious about the book that's coming out in October.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Who's-
That one's mine. It's called Dark Days. It's a female protagonist who kind of like it puts a new spin on witches, werewolves, vampires, blends with Celtic mythology, but she doesn't have any interest in romance. She just kind of knows what she has to do and she gets it done.
Wow.
Cool. Is this your first book, or are you churning them out all the time, or what's your status on that?
This is number 3. Last year I put out a kid's book called Metal Like Me, and this February I did a book called The Last Christmas. It's kind of like a Hallmark style book about new beginnings, and hoping to turn this one into a series of about 12.
That's amazing. Thank you.
They're impressive.
So we will be returning to this Jamboard. You might notice that we have 3 more pages in here. So after each of the tools today, we're going to have just a really short kind of debrief on each and self-assessment on how you feel about that tool. So I wanted to model a few different ways that we could use this tool, even though we won't spend a whole lot of time on how to build them. It is a pretty straightforward, what you see is what you get tool, but I wanted to try it out a little bit. Some other housekeeping pieces. I've heard from a few different groups that they've either finished their website or their webpage, or that they're moving along pretty quickly with it. I think there was a group for YouTube that has already, they have their description already laid in here, 3 paragraphs or 3 sentences about it. They have their challenge going, and then they have about 8 different resources that are already published in there. So this is, again, just a reminder that please collaborate on this. You can kind of divide and conquer if you want, or as individuals, start putting in pieces as you find them on your own. But again, we don't want this to fall on any individuals. And if you feel like you're doing the brunt of the work, please reach out, and I can come alongside you and help to co-construct. But the goal is that we spend some time learning some cool features of using Google Sites, and then also prepare some pretty cool resources that you can then take to your schools and help serve that community. I really think through how our teachers in the state are evaluated, and being able to have that leadership level within you being built up during this time as you go and serve all the people at your school. So that's kind of the behind the scenes ideal behind it. Let me make sure I'm catching up with the chat, making sure I have everything in here. Oh, Derek posted his link for his video, or for his book. That's awesome. Thank you. Good stuff. And yep, the slides are in Google Classroom, and I posted them in the chat a little bit ago, and I'll do it again just so we make sure that we have it. Okay. So here we go with the slides. Okay. The other housekeeping piece for today is in the office hours last week. Again, those are completely optional. So, you know, the 5 people or so who came, we had a really good discussion about how in Classroom we can use emojis to help to clue in for our students how to use, how they should be engaging with different artifacts that are put in there, different resources. This is, I think, especially helpful when we're looking at our younger students who might be using Classroom. Definitely K2, K3, these would be pieces that you can easily put in to your classroom. Beyond that, it's kind of a universal design piece that it's not going to hurt anybody if every time they see this film clapper, and I learned that that's what it's called, there's a movie that they should be watching, or when they see the target that, hey, this is something that I'm doing for my own self-assessment. So we're going to talk through these 3 symbols just very quickly. When you see this target on slide 3, and when you see it in Google Classroom moving forward, this is going to be something that it's for your own self-assessment. When you go in here and you're trying out one of our challenges, I'm not going in and reviewing. It's really to see, am I on the level that's needed for that level 1 test? Or when we get into level 2, am I capable of doing these skills? And so kind of a encouragement for you. And, you know, we just saw the awesome YouTube page that's already built on our site. We have multiple challenges in there. I think this group asked if they could make additional ones, and that's absolutely fine. We want as many opportunities to try out the skills as possible. And what I would encourage you to do is to do it as quickly as you can, and to try to work on your speed. The challenges that I've put forth are very much aligned with what you'll see on the test. And I've encouraged you that as you build your own challenges, try to align with mine so that we get that kind of equal practice in there. And, you know, on the test, we have 3 hours. And the majority of the time that I've seen people not pass is because they've run out of time. And it might be that they're overthinking it. And a lot of times it is that we're overthinking these different skills. So really try to hone your speed with it. The film one, every week every time we have one of our sessions, I'm doing the recording. So you can, when you see this icon, know that it is some sort of recording that I've put out, whether it's one of these 1.5-hour long sessions, or if it's one of those interstitial session or recordings that I might do to cover a tool like I did with YouTube a couple weeks back. Look out for this symbol, just knowing that here's something I could watch. And then finally, the 100, when you see this icon, it's something that I'm going to go back and have a closer eye on. So I think the only one in there right now is probably for the collaborative website. So I'm not going to actually go through and you know, give you a point value, but I just, as a team on that conversation last week, these were the symbols we thought would be helpful. Any questions out there about how we have this set up, or anything along those lines? Okay. So we'll go ahead and move into Google Classroom. I know a lot of us have had experience, and quite a few of you have been in my classroom sessions before. I will post a link to the classroom sessions and recordings of those sessions after our time together today. So if you do want to dive deeper, you'll definitely have the resources given to you. But I think we can get a lot covered, especially for what will be on level 1 during this next half hour or so. So in here, Google Classroom is a way that we can collect and curate resources for our students. We can make assignments, we can easily give feedback, and we can foster community. Those are the biggest pieces for me. If you are a Google Classroom user, I would just like to hear maybe 1 or 2 words about how you would describe Classroom. You can go ahead and unmute. I'd love to hear that.
User friendly.
Love it. Thank you. Anyone else?
Kind of one-stop shopping.
Okay. Yeah, it connects all of Google's tools, or a lot of them, in one place. I love that. All right, so in our time together are three main things that we're going to be looking at. And again, this is not a deep dive into Classroom. You can watch the videos that I'll link out to later for that. We're going to see how we can create a class. We're going to see how we add students, and how we can do assignments. And I'll talk through the assignment piece a little bit deeper, but I wanted to at least let you know the main ideas here. As we've seen for a lot of our tools so far, on the right-hand side, that step 3, I have it linked, and that's going to take you to edu.google.com, the Teacher Center, where we have that Getting Started with Google Classroom. Again, so if you're going out and working with your PLC and they've never used Classroom before, or if you need to start collecting resources for parents so that they can help facilitate their students' learning, you might push this out to them. Put it in a newsletter or something so that they can see, oh, well, what's the classwork page? I mean, not all these things will be helpful from that user end, but at least it might give some insight. And then we have videos in here about how to copy courses, creating classrooms, how to make a quiz, and then a lot of instructional ideas in here. Okay, so at this point, I'd like everyone to go to classroom.google.com. I know a lot of you have different ways of doing that, but if we have to type in classroom.google.com, that's fine. If you know another way, that's cool too, but let's all head there now. Okay. So as we said, our first week together, when you take this exam, they're going to give you a new Google account that is a temporary one for just that 3-hour window. And when you log in, there are going to be people in your address book and your contacts. There are going to be files in your Google Drive. There are going to be emails in Gmail already going. So it's going to have you add specific people and name specific courses in your classroom, and it'll be very specific with what you want to do. So when we get in for this very first time, we see the plus sign in the top right corner. We see all of the classes that you're a member of. These are all ones where I'm the teacher, but if I were the student in the class, it would have my teacher's name and picture. And so it become very easy for me to know, here's one that I'm in for PD, here's one that I'm in for as the instructor. You'll also see that there would be any upcoming assignments would show up on this card too. For right now, we want to click the plus sign. And by default, it gives us these two choices, join class or create class. I'm going to create a class, so you can always go in and delete or archive or delete later. So you're not going to be stuck with this, but let's go ahead and create a class. In here, it requires that we put a class name, but these other 3 fields are completely optional. This won't surprise any of you. I'm going to give it live demo 811 as my class name. Section would be like a class period. I also know that for elementary teachers, sometimes they'll make the class name where it is like or it would be like science, and the section would be Mrs. Seipel. I'm going to use my wife as an example, and then have another class name for English, and it would just have it divided up that way. Then we have subject, and we can drop in, let's see, geology, and room number. And all of these are completely optional, and room number seems so quaint right now, right? So let's see, go ahead.
Question.
Yeah.
When I clicked create class, it gave me a notice about the G Suite for Education because I'm on a personal email address. Do you think I should create my class in my school district email address? We don't use Google Classroom.
It's really up to you. This is just a trial one.
Okay.
So yeah, when you get that notice, I think there's an option to just agree.
Okay.
And I would just not add any minors to your class, but you
Okay.
probably won't. So,
Okay.
so we'll say 23. And after we have as many of these, well, one or more of these fields filled in, we'll hit create. And in the background, I know a couple moments ago, one of you said that it's an all-in-one tool. Classroom can do lots of things. And it's making our classroom right now. It's making a new calendar for you in Google Calendar. It's making a new meeting link, and it's making a new folder in Google Drive. So those 4 different actions just took place when you hit create class. What we see now is our classroom, and we have our name here. Directly beneath that, it has a class code, and this is going to be one of the 2 ways that we can add students. And we'll see how we can interact with that more in just a moment. Some of you might see where it says meet link. Others, especially if you're using a personal account, probably don't see that, but if you need a reference, you can look at my screen now. And then beneath that, we can see that we're in the stream and that we are offered to communicate with our class here. So the very first thing that I would do is make a welcome message. So welcome to our geology class. This school year will rock. Sorry, I'm a dad. I do dad jokes. And then I'm going to hit post. All right, so now I've made a message for my students and all of them can see it. Now, a quick thing to know is that by default, so right now I made a post, okay? So this is a new entry on the stream, and by default, anyone in the class can make a post in the stream. And this is something that I change very quickly. This is a setting that I change very quickly so that only the teacher can make a new topic or post in here, and that you can toggle whether or not your students can comment. So what I like to do, I'll skip over to the settings gear in the top right corner of my screen. And when I click on that, we can alter those 4 fields, and they added a 5th for class description that we filled in a little bit ago. Then when I scroll down, I see things like class code. We'll get into that in just a minute. I have my stream choice, and I want to click there. So where it says stream, by default, it's students can post and comment. But I really encourage people, especially right when you are starting a class and you haven't normed how to behave in, or what this looks like, how we should interact in classroom. I really encourage people to go to this most restrictive one to start things off. Only teachers can post or comment. Later, when there's a particular topic I want feedback on, I can go in and let students comment so that I'm making that initial post, but then they're able to respond to it. But I rarely keep that top one selected. Any experience, good, bad, or other, using the stream and how our students interact in it?
I'll share. I teach in an elementary school and I'm the STEM lab teacher. So I use Google Classroom quite a bit to post assignments and links for them to go to. And the first time I posted it with 5th and 6th grade, I forgot to change that. And they had some very inappropriate comments they were typing. And I very quickly learned to shut it off in the middle of class.
Yeah. Thank you. And, you know, a quick note, you can change it at any point, right? The other thing is it's tagged to the student's name. So if they're thinking that they get away with something, they're not. And then the final part is when we get to the people tab, I'll show you how you can mute individual students if everyone else is able to do what's expected and 1 or 2 students can't, then we can mute them, have the conversation with that student directly, and help to build them up. All right, so some other things in here that we'll get back to the settings later, but at this point I've made my change in the stream and I'm gonna hit save and it's taking me back to the stream. Stream is going to have any activity if there's a new post from the classwork. So if you have made a new assignment or if there is a quiz coming up, it's automatically going to be put into the stream. And any due dates from classwork will automatically come over here to where it says upcoming. And that shows up for our students in a couple different places. So really it helps to eliminate well, I didn't know it was due. They get it in like 4 or 5 different spots, so it becomes pretty evident for them. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna bounce over to people. Please do so too. And in here, we can see that there's one teacher, Adam Seipel, and no students, okay? So we're gonna talk through both ways of how to add students. They're both pretty easy. The first one we wanna get to is clicking this person icon with the plus sign, okay? So I can come in here and type individual student names. So if I know I need to add Carter and I need to add Miles to this class, I can drop in their email address and it will pop in. Now, if you are working with more than 5 students, this gets old pretty quickly. So what I would encourage you, and again, this is a way that you can do it, and on the exam, you'll probably do it this way. We click that icon, put in a specific name that we're given, and then hit invite. That's good when you're taking the exam to get your level 1 certification, but most of the time, the easiest way to go about adding students is getting them the class code. Now it shows up in the stream for us. Remember, it's right underneath our course name. It also shows up when we have our settings gear, and down here, class code, and I can just copy that. There's even an option to copy. So when I make an email, or when I do a newsletter to families at the beginning of the year, especially if we're doing remote learning in your district, I would send them that class code, maybe a short video on how to join a Google Classroom class as a student, and then have them self-add. And if we have a few students who don't do it, then I would go back and add them manually. But there's no reason, especially our secondary teachers who have 90 students or a lot more than 90 students, specials especially, I would have them self-enroll as best you can. The other piece that's going to be extremely helpful this year, and I don't think this will be on the exam, but it's going to be incredibly helpful for you, is to do Guardian summaries as well. So to set this up, we'll click back on our settings gear, and towards the bottom of our general section in there, we have the option of Guardian summaries. I have mine turned on. Now, some districts might have this turned off at their main level, and you can ask them to turn it back on. I think it's a great resource that doesn't take any time for the teacher. But again, some people have it turned off. I'm going to show you what the Guardian summaries look like. You can watch on my screen or click that see example if you want. So in here, every week, our families will get an email that has a summary of what's going on in their child's classroom or their children's classrooms. And in here, we get an email summary example. So Felix is in a couple different classes. He missed 2 assignments last week. And again, our families automatically get this. The teacher doesn't have to generate it. Here are the 2 things that are due next week, and it's all collected. And then what happened in the class last week? Well, in US history, he had these 3 different things. American literature, again, 3, and marine biology, only 2. But all of that is bundled together for our teacher or for our families, and it makes it so easy. Now, the other thing to know is that once Carter and his dad are linked as child and parent, any other class that Carter goes into, it's automatically going to have it tagged that way. So you don't, half your students may already have a Guardian set up for them. But if they don't, we would click here, action. Oh, they need to already be added. That's why it's not working. But I would be able to select add Guardian and drop in their email address, and it would send them an invite to be linked.
So if it doesn't show up on mine under general, I don't have a tab to click for Guardians. Is there a reason? Is it because it's just my personal email?
I'm guessing because it's personal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep. Okay.
Adam, if they already have another teacher, say their history teacher went in and set up Guardian email, can I go in and see that before I try to set anything up?
So it would be, let me switch to another class real quick.
I never have heard of this. This is great.
Yeah, it's awesome and underutilized, right? So in here, I switched to another class. Carter has already accepted the invitation here. And then it says, here's his guardian. If I want to add an additional guardian for him, I can click the 3 dots next to his name and invite additional guardians, remove a guardian. From here, I can email all the guardians. Maybe we have something big coming up soon and it, you know, makes a list for me. This is how I contact you guys before every class. Not the guardian part necessarily, but I can click the checkbox, actions, email, and it brings all of your email addresses into Gmail for me automatically. It makes it very, very easy.
Wow.
All right, so I'm gonna head back to our current demo. We've seen how to engage with the stream. We've seen some settings that we can adjust. We've seen how to add people. The next thing that we're going to do is go into classwork. And this is where really you'll spend most of your time after you get that initial setup in your class. So from here, we very prominently are going to see like an oval button that says create. Let's click there. And we have 5 different types of things that we can create, and then we can also reuse a post. I like to start people off by doing a topic. I doubt this will be on the test, but think of topics as ways that you can organize your course. So you might have our first unit for geology will be, I don't know, national park, geo, and then I can go in and make additional topics or units. So this could be vocabulary. And I'm starting to build out, you know, in the past, we might have had a filing cabinet. This is how we're going to organize our class structure directly in here. And I can drag and drop to reorder those if I need to. So if we're now in the unit on National Park Geography or Geology, I might have that at the top. At the beginning of the year, I might have here are our go-to resources for the syllabus for here are the tools that we're using this year. Here's how we're going to build community or our classroom expectations, whatever that might be. And we have all those at the top. Now that I have some structure to my classroom, and you'll notice on the left, I can filter for only posts about National Park Geo or vocabulary. Our kids can do that too. I'm ready to start to build some different topic or some different resources within here. So I'm going to hit create again. And now we'll look at what you'll probably use the majority of the time, and that's making an assignment. So we'll click assignment. In here, we want to give it a title. So this will be our National Park Geology Hyperdoc. And then down below, we have 2 different types of ways that we can put content in here. The first is add, the second is create. Create just brings up here the 5 most common Google Drive tools, and you can start a new one directly from there. But I'm going to click add. So when we do add, the first option is the one that I love the most. I'll go ahead and be biased with this, and that's Google Drive. So with Drive, it comes up with all of your Drive files. It's going to be sorted by what's most recent. And I can find a website or Google site, I can find slides, whatever it might be, and select as many of them as I want. So I'll do these 4 items. I'm going to hit insert. I can also search up above for a particular file that I'm looking for if I need to. Now I hit insert, and it brings all of them in here. I get a thumbnail of what that file is. I get the name of the file, what file type, and then to the right, I get a drop down with how I want my students to engage with it. So the very first option is the default, and that students can view file. They can't interact in any way, but they can see it. The next is students can edit file. And then finally, make a copy for each student. Now, in the course that you guys are in right now, we've used each of those 3, and I've done it very intentionally. So for our slides, you may not need to go in and edit them. So I made it where you just can see it. When we had our exam overview week 1, you can just see it. We've done the first week of our course, we did all students can edit file. When we did that welcoming Google Slides where you went in and introduced yourself, all 40 of us were editing the same file at the same time. I don't use that often, but I use it very intentionally when I do, okay? So for the next couple weeks, you may do this. You might use it for check-ins where everybody goes and here's what I've been learning on my own at home. Here's how I'm feeling right now. You might be able to do that. You know, I would want to use your discretion about knowing your students, what level of privacy would you want to maintain, but know that this would be an option. Then we have the option of make a copy for each student. And this is one that I also use pretty frequently. So when we had to do, here's our skills checklist. You all got your own copy. You can go in and adapt, right? No one else can see it. Something that's really cool to know in here is that each of these files can have a different setting too. So I can determine how do the kids need to interact with this particular resource and make sure that it's set for that purpose. We also have the option of adding a link to a particular website. So if this needs to go to google.com or Newsela or whatever it might be, I can link to a particular web page. I can upload a file. That won't be on the test. And then I can add a YouTube video, and this may. So when I do a YouTube video, I can look for geology, eras, and then do my search. Brief history of geologic time. I think it's really important that it tells you the length of the video, the date that it was published, and then a short synopsis. I probably wouldn't post a 12-minute video to my class. A 5-minute video might be too long. 134 is definitely too long, but I would try to find the shortest video that will get the information across to my kiddos. When I've selected it, so I'll switch to this one. I'm gonna hit add, and now my students can watch a video about you or from YouTube without having to go to youtube.com to watch it. So very helpful. We don't have to take
as a heads up real quick, like our district, and I'm sure lots of other people have filters blocking the YouTube videos. So our school system, we had to download the actual video and then attach that as a file. So just be cautious, I guess, question mark?
Yeah, so definitely be cautious, and every district will handle it a little differently. I have some concerns about copyright with the model that you just presented. But I would want to make sure that our kids are safe is that top one. Our technology departments are able to decide, I think there are 4 different filter levels for YouTube for education, including, and I really like this option, letting teachers decide what videos get whitelisted. So a teacher can go in and approve a video that they need to use for their class, and it becomes whitelisted for the entire district. And I like that model a lot. Now over on the right-hand side, we have a couple other options. I can choose which classes, and yes, multiple classes can get the same assignment. I just do a checkbox. Now this next option, if I have students enrolled in my class, and obviously this new one that I just made, I don't, I can go through and assign it to specific people. So if I know that this group needs to get the same assignments, maybe it's an accommodation, maybe it's based on their interest or skills, or maybe it's because they're a group functioning together, a collaborative group, I can assign just to them. But a good note is that you can't do both of these filters. So I can't post to multiple classes and individual students. I have to do either or. Then we can assign points. So I can make this out of 35. I can make it ungraded. Any whole number can work. Put a due date in. And then finally, I can post it to a particular topic. So I want this one to go to National Park Geo. And when I'm ready, I can hit assign. If you watch my videos about Classroom, and I know some of you have been through those full-length sessions anyway, you'll learn more about Plagiarism Checker and the rubric. So you can definitely look out for that. But now we have our resources, or we have our first assignment in here. I can also create a quiz using Google Forms. We talked about that a little bit last week, but that will really be when we get to our level 2 stuff later in the fall. We can pose a question, and there are 2 types that we can do with this. We can do kind of like a discussion board post where I put a question and everyone can type in an answer, or I can do a very simple poll where I might give 2 or 3 choices. One of those that I might do pretty frequently looking forward might be, when should our next office hours be? And we can do multiple choice, and with this we can do Tuesday or Thursday. And when I'm all set, I can ask the question and they receive it in the stream and also in the classwork page as well. I would want this to be probably ungraded, but now we ask and they get it. Now, I do want to apologize. A couple weeks ago, when I was doing one of these Google Classroom sessions, I used our class that you are all enrolled in as the example. And so some of you were like, why am I getting these notices? And it's because I did that. So I'm really sorry about that. But I was trying to model some things and forgot that I hit publish, and I don't usually do that. So again, sorry. So at this point, this is what we'll really need to know for the exam. Some final things that you will probably want to know if you've never used Classroom before. When we go to grades, it's going to come up with all of our assignments in here. Notice that we have our emoji. So in here, I can click on one of these, and I don't expect that you guys turn in these mini challenges. Some of you have, and that's great. But when I click on the title, it comes in. I can see who has turned it in. I can see that it's missing from some people, and it gives me that data automatically. I can click on any of your files. If I want to go see Lawanda's, I can, and I can give feedback directly in here. And we can see that there are different files linked, and I can go and see this. Notice that I can give a score in here. If it was a graded assignment, I can toggle with these arrows to find the next resource or submission, and it makes it really easy to collect all that information. Okay, so I know that I have sped through Google Classroom, and again, you will get more information from me moving forward. I do want to just quickly show how we can add the emoji, just because that is something that we're going to be doing within our class. When we're making an assignment or in the stream, anywhere that we're typing in text, if we do a right click with our trackpad or mouse, or if you do a 2-finger click on a Mac or Chromebook, the first option is going to be emoji and symbols. And this brings up your entire toolbar for emojis. So I can go through and find my targets or my film clapper, whatever it might be, and be able to post it in here. So we'll see, here are our recent ones, and I can find my film clapper, and it puts it there. Okay. So I'm heading back to my slides. Again, we have our additional resources on slide 5 that are linked, and I'll send you some in my follow-up email today as well. Here's our challenge, and we're not going to do it together right now, but again, you will get this posted later this evening, and it's also on our collaborative website, so you can see it there. But a representative exam item you might get is make a new class called Math:(R3G29. And it will tell you very explicitly what it will be. It's going to ask you to go in and make an assignment. It will give you the name, and it will tell you specifically what files to attach to it and what settings to do for any file that you put in there. Finally, it will probably ask you to add specific students to your class, and it might ask you to change the theme. And we didn't talk about that yet, so I will bounce back to our classroom quickly. And on the stream, you'll notice we have this cool background image. All of ours will look a little differently, but I can click where it says select theme. And in here, there are 6 different tabs for filters. And I can find one that I think represents my class. So when I find the one I like, maybe video games, I can do select class theme, and it will change that picture. It will change all the accent colors throughout my course, all with a single click. And I can go through and change that at any time too. Okay. So what I'd like you guys to do on our slide number 7, and this is also using the same Jamboard as before, I have a little self-check. So you'll see on the second page of Jamboard, and you can navigate at the top, we have some arrows. I'd like you to drag where you feel, or how you would describe how comfortable you are with using Google Classroom. So we have these Post-it notes at the bottom. If we run out, you can make a new one and just drag to how you would self-assess. A lot of goods and okays. I feel fine with that. Thankfully, no bads yet. Maybe we're still getting to the screen. I'll drop the link into our chat to help facilitate the timing.
Students are using Jamboard or answering an open-ended question. Is there a way to moderate their responses?
I don't believe so. So, you know, that might be why we would use Google Forms or the question option for Google Classroom if you wanted it to be captured in a more secure, maybe not secure, but like more permanent way. Oh.
Adam, it looks like I can change people's notes to Post-it notes though.
Yes, you can.
Isn't that moderating in a way? Couldn't we like let people write? Is that what you mean?
Okay. I was missing the question before. Yes, you would be able to moderate by removing a post that was inappropriate. So if I saw that this one, Jill Murray, I can hit delete and it goes away. So I saw the question in here, what do I do about the about page? About is, if you're in an older class, you might still see about, but it's kind of been brought into other places of Classroom. So it might be kind of in the settings icon, that class description place, or resources within classwork. Okay.
Adam, what happened to the Jamboard? Why doesn't it have the divisions anymore?
I think it might have been deleted by one of our peers.
Oopsie.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So again, Jamboard, I'm still getting used to it. I will say that I typically use Padlet, but for the purpose of being in a Google for Education course, I want to use those tools as much as possible, to be honest. Okay, so I'm gonna head back to our slides at this point, and we will move into Google Meet. And I'm excited. Yes, go ahead, Regina.
Real quick,
Yeah.
It said that there were too many people viewing the file. Is that normal?
So I've done it with way more than this number of people. I wonder if it's, if we have multiple tabs of it open. So if I had like, if I click the link the first time and this time, that might cause some problems, is my guess. Okay. So we're gonna switch gears, and you can leave the Jamboard for now. We will come back to it one more time. And this time we're gonna be talking about Google Meet. Google Meet is a video conferencing tool. It's a great video conferencing tool. And we're gonna talk about it quite a bit right now. It's good that we might still, if you haven't yet closed your Classroom tab, please don't, please leave it open, because I'm going to show you how we can use that. And here we go. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, I'm going to go to meet.google.com. And you can watch my screen for just the next few minutes. That's fine. Or if you're someone who learns by following or by clicking and doing it yourself, you know, obviously you can too. If we need to start an impromptu meeting, we go to meet.google.com, we can click the plus sign, and it wants us to give it a title. So I'm going to give this meeting, so don't want to overthink things, live demo, and continue. So it's going to take me into Meet. I'm the first one here. I can join. It's asking me what microphone and audio I want to use. I can turn it on or off for myself right here. And when I'm all set, I'm going to join. Okay, so now I'm in Google Meet and I'm in my impromptu meeting. I can click copy joining info and email that out to people. I can send it to them, put it on a Google slide, put it in my Google Classroom, whatever it might be. And so now I'm in here, and some things that we need to be able to navigate. Up at the top right, I have the time. I have people's names, so anyone who's in the class I can see. We can do a chat. I can put files in here so I click here, and I can do that when it's a protected thing. Okay, so I'll come back to that part. Now down at the bottom right, I have my 3 dots that lets me know that I have additional options in here. So with this, I can record my meeting, and this is going to save automatically for you in Google Drive. So very easy. A lot of us are using Drive anyway, so it will auto archive all of those for us. We can change the layout. And right now we have 3 options. Soon, the tiled one that I know a lot of us are fond of for Zoom will allow up to 49 people on the screen at the same time, which is pretty cool. We get things like being able to turn on captions and so forth. Now I know some additional features that are coming to Meet soon. I don't know an exact date. The ability to do breakout rooms. Participants can raise their hand virtually to be able to say that they have a question. We can already moderate our students in terms of if they need to mute their mics, I can mute everybody. I can turn off their video screen. Soon we'll have virtual backgrounds, so you all won't have a clean view of my closet area in my house or in my bedroom. I could have that be a virtual or blurred background. If you could unmute your mic, if you have a thought on why might it be helpful for our students to be able to have a virtual background when they're in class with you.
Because some students don't want to share what they live in. It's uncomfortable to share where you live.
Yeah, for sure.
If they're middle schoolers, they put ridiculous things up there all the time, including a picture of me.
So Adam, do you know, are these changes to Meet going to make it for this year's beginning school year?
I don't know their exact timeline. I was on Twitter right before our session started today because there's a VP pick that happened an hour ago.
Yes.
So news. So Google had a poll going live right now about what are you most excited about for Meet that's coming live. So I don't think they would do that unless it's like really imminent. But who knows?
Because we need it like now.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of schools started weeks ago, so yeah, we need it.
Yeah, because we don't want to pay for Zoom either.
Yeah, I get that. All right, so that is a real quick overview of when we're in a Meet, what that can do. I'm going to leave the call now, and we'll see how we can set up a meeting beyond doing that impromptu one. So the first way that we can do it, and what I would really encourage you to do if you're using Google Classroom at your school, is do it directly from here. So if we go back to that settings gear in Classroom and right beneath Guardian Summaries, we can make this Meet link visible for our students. I think mine's turned off because I don't have any students in this class, so I'll switch to our cohort real quick. And if you're in our cohort, you'll notice that you're not seeing the link, but when I turn it on, and if you went to our cohort, you would see a Meet link now showing up for Google Educator Cohort 1. And you can just click on that and be able to enter into a meeting, and only people in our class would be able to join it. Now, the other thing that we can do, it's going to show up in classwork too, that we have Meet, Google Calendar, and Class Drive folder, and those are all links to those respective places. Just kind of a best practice piece for you. I would not have that link turned on all the time. After our meeting is over, I would go in and disable it or make it no longer visible. And once I do that, I would go up just a little bit. I have a drop down for my Meet link, and I would reset it and hit save. That way, if my students try to go back to that link, it's no longer live, they can't do it. And 10 minutes before our next meeting that I've scheduled with them, I would just go in and make it visible again. Do any of you have any thoughts around best practices about having the link in here, or how you have or may think through using it?
I just had a question. What would be a appropriate time between class periods would you suggest?
Not quite fully understanding that. Can you rephrase the question?
So as a special teacher, I see every grade in the building, and in a face-to-face situation, we have 5 minutes between each class.
Okay.
Would you say that a 5 minute in between each virtual class is a safe amount of time to finish one meeting and then start a second? Or would you suggest a longer in-between time?
Your district will probably provide a lot of guidance around what those transitions would be. You asked for my opinion though, so I'll tell you it. The school that I support typically has like 75-minute classes. I wouldn't try to replicate that. Right now, you guys have been in this class for an hour and 2 minutes. If I were working with middle school, elementary school, I hope that we would not be going on past an hour. So I would do synchronous meetings like this largely for that community building aspect. Try to use asynchronous pieces as much as I can for pushing content to my students, and then offer short office hour chunks. Maybe it's already, here's the topic we're talking about for Tuesday's office hours, and kids can come in if they want, or maybe they submit questions in advance so that they know what's coming on. And cute baby there, that's awesome, thank you. Or she's awesome, right? She? Yeah, okay, cool. So I like to think short. When I think about videos for students, I want them to be 2 or 3 minutes. I think our Zoom or Meet meetings can be a little longer than that, but I wouldn't try to go for the full length. Other thoughts out there about it?
Adam, I have a question about when you open up the Google Meet. Is there any way a student can copy your link or copy in the browser and come back into the Meet when you're not there? That's one of my concerns.
So my understanding is that once you disable the link, they can no longer do that, is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so that is how we can get our students into Meet. That's how we can use Meet. The final way that I want to model for you is through Calendar. And we will get into Google Calendar. I think that'll be one of my mini lessons throughout like an in-between week. But with Calendar, when we make an event, it now prompts you to add a virtual meeting in there. So if I'm trying to schedule something with Liza for tomorrow at 11:30, I can click that time. I'm gonna put chat about cohort. And down in here, I can of course do our date and time. And this isn't our full calendar deep dive, but I do want to at least show it. And we get this option to add Google Meet video conferencing. And so now anyone who I add in here will automatically get that link. Now, the other cool thing about Google Meet for our school accounts is that you can have up to 250 participants at the same time who are in the class and can all talk and share. And yet you can have up to 100,000 people who are viewing live streaming at the same time. Hopefully none of us have classes of 250, but just know that these are all options in here. All right, so I'm gonna hit save. Get rid of Liza's name. Save. And whoever clicks on this link will see that there's join with Google Meet, and they can now access the meeting that we have set. Okay, so as we have with a lot of our tools on slide 9, on the right-hand side, that's step 3, we have a link for getting started with Google Meet. So in here, videos about how you can use it instructionally, other ideas for setting up digital office hours, which we talked about a couple minutes ago, how we set it up, enabling distance learning using Google Meet. So lots of great resources in here about how you can start to make that transition. Now would also be a good time to just quickly show that. So on that page, if you go up to where it says resources, there's the option down here for distance learning. So this page is going to have lots of resources in here about how you can work with your kiddos, COVID-19 support resources you can go to and find information to help facilitate learning at your schools. All right, a challenge that you might see would look like this. So in your class called Math R3G29, which we have already created from our classroom challenge, turn on the Meet link, reset the URL, and make an announcement to your class that includes the Meet link. That would be the type of thing that you would probably see incorporating Google Meet into this exam. Okay, so at this point, I would like to hear, are there any questions or additional questions about Meet before we head back to our Jamboard to be able to talk through how to use that to be able to reflect?
I have a quick question, Adam. I know we've been using Meet a lot for our staff meetings at my school.
Cool.
The central office uses Zoom, but the rank and file just use Google Meet. And one of the things that we were using or were asked to install was an extension basically that allows you to do the more full gallery view, so that you can see the participants in the meeting.
Yeah.
I know Google Meet has included like a sort of smaller gallery view. I think it lets you look at like 8 to 10 participants at a time. But are there, and this could be for anything, right? But are there specific extensions that you might recommend to augment the experience beyond just vanilla Google Meet? And that would go also for some of the other tools that we're using, which is a larger question than right now. But
man, I'm so happy that you asked this. Our next meeting, we are going to be learning about Google Chrome. And one of those things will be, we're gonna have a demo slam sharing our favorite extensions. So I want everybody we're gonna crowdsource and be able to share some of those. So for Meet specifically, I have installed the one that you're talking about for the gallery view. I know that they've since brought that in, like you mentioned, and that it's going up to 49 people at the same time for their gallery view soon. I don't know when that will take place. Some other extensions that I think have become Google Meet features or about to. Jamboard's going to be completely integrated into Meet as well, so you'll get that whiteboard experience. So, I will have to look for additional extensions for our next meeting, but just know that's already going to be a part of what we do. So if you have some, I look forward to learning from you as well.
Thanks.
Yep. Other questions about Meet? Cool. All right, so if we could, if you haven't already, we're going to head back to our Jamboard and our third one. and we have Chuck Norris and some awesome baseball fan. Please just move to what side you are. Using videos can help my learners. Thumbs up or thumbs down. And we'll take a little bit of time to discuss this in a moment. And you can split the difference if you need to. If you need to go right in the middle, you can, however you see fit. Okay. Cool. So what are some ways that you all have used video both during quarantine and prior to quarantine? How have you used it effectively in your classroom?
I use it to reinforce like a technique, like rolling clay out for when I'm art. So like I'll have them watch a video, then I will demonstrate. So they're seeing it from more than one perspective without
Awesome.
having to have other people involved.
Thank you.
Defining vocab, having them watch something and come up with their own terms as to what is going on before you actually give them the vocabulary.
Okay. So some pre-teaching there. Love it. Oh, Missy said that she looked up the new features to meet and some are coming as soon as today. So that's awesome. If you want to post that timeline in here, that'd be, if there's a link to that, post it in the chat. We can all take a look real quick. Other folks who want to reflect on how using videos can help your learners?
Well, like with the record features, you can go back to it. The kids can watch the things over and over, so it's no longer just a one-shot learning. It's revisitable.
Yeah. I love that, and being able to replay it at your own pace, rewind to find the part that you need to focus on. I think that's great. I also want to, I know we have done the challenge for YouTube already, and we've seen how to make a playlist. If you start making your own instructional videos, maybe using Screencastify, which is one of my favorite Google extensions that we'll talk about our next session. Think about how short can you possibly make your video, and then start to use the playlist so that every step of that math equation is its own very short video, and they can move on to the next step. I hear my 3-year-old is crying, so I want to move us along real quick. Let me go check what's going on, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, my wife is on it, so things are good. Okay, life is fun. Any final thoughts about using video? Okay. Now, I will say that as a child, I was often told, ask 3 before me. Were any of you that kid too, the inquisitive one in the classroom? I'm assuming it's quite a few of us teachers. And so that always meant that I'm asking 3 other classmates before I ask my teacher. I recently, or a couple of years ago, heard that the new ask 3 before me is ask a friend, ask Google, and ask YouTube. And you can figure out how to do just about everything from those 3 sources. And I know that when I'm trying to learn how to cook something new, or if I'm doing a project on my car or around the house, I always go to YouTube to try to figure it out. And our students are doing that too. How can we leverage what they're already doing to make it work in our classrooms too? All right, so I'm gonna head back to our slides. Bye, Chuck Norris, bye, baseball fan. And we are briefly going to touch on this final tool called Google Groups. Now, I think Google Classroom is an amazing tool. I think Google Meet is an amazing tool. Google Groups, you might have to know it for the test, okay? So we have a couple different choices here. You can stick around and I'll do a demo for you. I do have a video of me basically doing that skill. It's linked on slide 13. I will run through if you want to stick around, but this is kind of our last formal thing together today. So if you need to take off, I know it's been over an hour that we've been here together. Please, before you leave, fill out our exit slip. It's linked on slide 15. It'll also be in our follow-up email. Okay. Yeah. 3-year-old, no clothes on whatsoever. So I'm glad that it's on this side of the screen and not showing my door right now. All right, so Google Groups, if you want to stick around and watch my live demo, you absolutely can. Otherwise, please make sure you do the exit slip before you go. You will get a follow-up email from me later this evening that has our recording and some additional links that could be helpful. I'll post that in Google Classroom too. If you want to watch me do the live demo, you can stick around. Otherwise, thank you for joining today. Know that there is this video on here, and then this is the type of challenge that you would need to do, okay? So just, if you need to drop out, that's fine, and we'll keep rolling now. So I'm gonna go to groups. And make sure I'm sharing my screen, okay. So in here, we can see that groups, we have this plus icon on the left-hand side, and that's where we're going to go to create a new group. In here, we need to give it a group name. So this one will be, I'm really going to try to align this with what our challenge will be. So this will be 2021 class. And I'm gonna put Disciple A. Okay, so this is my group name. Now a little bit about Google Groups. There are, traditionally there have been about 4 different styles of groups that you can create. It looks like there's been a little refresh since I spent some time in here before. We will wanna do a group description. So this will be my students and our learning revolution. Next. And in here we get a couple different choices. Who can join the group? Only people who have been invited. Anyone in the organization can ask to join, or anyone can just opt in. I'm going to do only invited users. And then we get some good stuff in here. Who can view the conversation? Group members. Who can post? We'll keep group members. And who can view? Group members. And again, this is a newer version. I'm glad that they updated it recently. And next. So group members is where I can start putting people's email addresses to invite them. So if I wanted Carter to be a member, I can do that. I can put people in different roles here. So if I want Miles to be a group manager, and they can come in and have those roles. Next, I want to do a welcome message, and this might just be a little heads up about what this group does. So in here, we're going to do, this is a place where we can have discussions, share resources, and create a mailing list. And I see that we have a couple questions going in the chat. Oh, cool. Thank you, Missy. Okay. And then down below, we get the option for what type of subscription. So this is going to be the default for anyone who joins your group. So as posts happen in here, and in groups is, the way I've used it most is as a discussion board. So I may not want to get a notice every single time anyone posts something. So I'm in a couple groups that have people from around the world, and they're active, right? And I might just want to get a daily digest, or maybe I never want to get any emails. I'm going to do a daily digest. Then we get the option directly add group members, and I'm able to do that, okay? And finally, I'm able to create my group. So now it's creating my group. It's going to send a message to Carter and to Miles, and I want to go to my group. So I'm in here, and if I wanted to make a new post in here, I'm going to come up to where it says new conversation. And, you know, this looks pretty similar to what we would see in Gmail, right? So I can do a subject, and this would be beginning of the year community building. And so I'm going to make that as my subject, add ideas, resources, and examples of how we can foster community in our classes. And then I can post my message. So now when my coworkers come in here, or if we're using this with our students and they come in, they can see here's a topic. And Carter could then go in and reply just to me. He can reply to everyone. He can send this to additional people, and it all gets filtered in, and we can see this over on the left, that here are all the conversations or threads, and be able to find that information. So again, if you're working with your students, just real quick, what tool might you use instead of Google Groups for this type of discussion board? And if you can go ahead and unmute, but what would you do?
Is this a lot like Share? And when you collaborate on a document, it just seems similar to me.
So I think that I think with the examples that I gave, probably it's similar to Share, right? We're adding people to it, but this would be...
It's a little more sophisticated, yes.
Yeah. So this could be helpful for like a district-wide PLC, where you're at different schools and there might only be one other STEM teacher at your school, and you're trying to collaborate and build things. Or I know we have an art teacher in here, and again, there might be 1 or 2 art teachers per school, but now I can work with the ones across the district and be able to collect things in here. Looks like we have some other ideas in the chat. So you may not, Lisa, are you in your personal account or a school account?
I'm in my school account, but I can't do it in my personal account either.
Okay. So I don't know why you can't with your personal. I'm not surprised about the school one. A lot of districts, because this isn't a heavily used tool or understood tool, a lot of them have it turned off so that people can't create those.
Okay.
I'm going to turn my camera off now, but I'm still here. Hi, Carter. Oh, yeah. Is it good? So I'll give you guys the heads up that in my follow-up, I'll be done pretty soon. In the next couple days, I'm going to re-record this part of our, I know, buddy, they all know too. I'm going to re-record this part now that the interface has evolved a little bit, and I'll just put it in our classroom so you can see the walkthrough for all the skills on our challenge for groups, okay? So know that that is coming. Let's go ahead and move towards doing our exit slip now. If there are questions, you can certainly shout them out. And I'd love to talk with you, but I need to go clothe my 3-year-old pretty soon as well. So I'm gonna stop my screen share. Y'all can head to the exit slip. I'll put the link in the chat too. Thank you all for joining. Again, I know we covered quite a bit in the session. I think that we were able to interact and have more conversations, which I definitely enjoyed, that more interaction that we had today. Thank you. All right, well, it seems like there may not be any other questions, so have a great day. And well, I see there's one in the chat. Where can I find the collaborative group to input info? is that the, sorry, Christy, can you ask your question out loud so I can understand it better?
Yes, I'm looking for the collaborative site that has that we're supposed to be putting our information into for
Okay.
like group people.
Yeah, so in Google Classroom, and I'll share my screen again. So in here we have cohort resources, and the second item in here is collaborative resource site. And when we click on that, it's the link to, you should be able to get to our website there. And I can also put that link in our chat so you can get back to it pretty easily.
Okay, I found it. I found it.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you all and have a great evening. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Bye.